Jim Bulgin, welcome to Business Insider.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. And as we were just saying, it is the first day on a new job, but the new job has been running for 6 years, so you've got a lot of stuff to talk to us
Indeed,
about.
it has been running for about 6 years since I started, but every day brings new challenges and new excitement.
Okay,
That's a great thing.
We might talk about some of those
Sure.
challenges and opportunities.
Sure.
First up, 6 years ago, you arrived to a different organisation and in a
Correct.
different Central Coast.
Correct.
Tell us about the organisation you arrived to and how it's changed.
When I arrived, the organisation was basically involved in accommodation support and running one factory over at Tuggerah in the business park. And since then, we had a series of strategic planning sessions, and we decided that the organisation had to change. It had been through a major series of traumas, in a sense, financial difficulties, etc. And I basically applied for the position through the financial review and got the job.
A history in, I guess, social enterprise, it's now called. It wouldn't have been called that when you joined.
It wasn't called a social enterprise then. It was predominantly called a disability service in those days. But I had a substantial background in both residential accommodation and employment support before I joined Fairhaven on the North Shore in Go Hill in Sydney.
Okay.
Yes.
In that time, the coast has changed, but I'd love to talk about some of the issues or some of the opportunities, maybe one or two of the opportunities you faced in transitioning Fairhaven.
Sure. For us, it was providing ample business opportunities in which we could employ people with a disability. That was our basic strategic intent. That there were a number of people with a disability, particularly young school leavers who were leaving school, not having employment opportunity. And for us, it presented a wonderful, exciting challenge, creating those businesses and ensuring that we could run those businesses well, sustainably, and in the same process, employ people with a disability.
So have you created those businesses, or have you?
There are a couple of businesses that we've created. One by acquisition. We acquired the Central Coast Laundry roughly about 3 years ago. But we created a couple of other businesses ourselves, one of them being a reuse centre, which we call Xanadu. It's a combination of reuse and recycling. And that's very exciting for us because we feel that landfill on the coast has been increasing dramatically, and we had to do something about arresting that. And we did that by not only providing an opportunity for people to give their stuff that would otherwise end in landfill to us, but we also provided employment opportunity. And we were educating the public in the importance of preserving the environment. So
and
that's exciting.
And the output of that reuse, it gets sold?
It gets sold to the public. Mm-hmm. There are a number of people who love using 60s type equipment that somebody just doesn't want. In addition, there's a lot of commercial products that we have, plumbing material, etc., that builders use. A number of companies that when they do their refurbishments, they just dump lots and lots of desks and furniture, etc. We pick them up. We sometimes refurbish them and sell them on to the public.
Okay. Any surprises there? Anything that didn't run as you would have liked it to have run, Jim?
Yes, of course, business is...
We'll limit your time here. So.
Business is always a challenge. But I guess for us, it's having to run an organization that firstly makes a profit, but equally ensures that there are opportunities for people with a disability to succeed in life. There's nothing more important for any human being than to be employed and to have a sense of independence and well-being and a quality of life. And for us, for someone with a disability, that's paramount because a number of people with a disability have been marginalized for many, many years. And providing them employment is amazing. You can see major transformation in the lives of the people whom we support. But equally, we are basically generating business for the Central Coast. We employ not only people with a disability, but a number of other people. We currently employ 225 people on the coast.
And that's returning revenue income to the coast, isn't
our
it?
current revenue is about $5.2 million a year.
5.2.
Correct.
I'm pleased we're talking to you because we need to talk about this.
Yes.
In terms of business other businesses getting involved or being, creating alliances with Fairhaven Services.
Sure.
Are there opportunities there?
Plenty of opportunities, Mike, because our laundry business, when we acquired it, had roughly about 58 odd customers. We acquired a business that was basically struggling to make ends meet. We invested in the business. We acquired 3 major customers, the Mantra, Coimbra Waters, and Rafferty's Resort. And since then, business has increased by about 40 odd %. And that's amazing for us because we are dealing with local businesses, we are making a positive contribution to business on the coast, and we're also providing jobs for people here. And that's fascinating for us.
Fantastic and extraordinary. The next 12 months, Jim, what do you think?
The next 12 months for us is a challenge. Business has its ups and downs. Our predominant business is a packaging business. We provide packaging services to a range of multinational companies, 2 pretty large companies that have factories on the coast. But the challenges for us are the fact that there's an increasing need for us to comply with the raft of government compliance matters, particularly when we employ someone with a disability. The compliance issues go up and up and up. So in addition to having to conform to your usual occupational health and safety guidelines, to your quality assurance guidelines, we are in fact accredited to ISO 9001-2008, which is a quality standard for our food packaging, because we provide dry food packaging for a very large company. And because of that, we have to simplify some of the guidelines and the procedures for our employees with a disability who find it difficult to comprehend some of them. So for us, compliance is always a challenge.
What we often hear that compliance, and we actually have spoken to someone quite recently about them employing a compliance manager, because up until this point, they've been able to get past, but there is so much. And this is a political question, and I apologise for anything it may sound like, but are these compliance elements realistic and required to your mind?
For us, because we deal with a range of governments, both state, federal, and also local government for that matter, and we do apply for funding packages, whether it's in our training organisation or whether it's in other areas such as in our accommodation service. The compliance initiatives vary from state to state and from government to government. And because of the type of organisation that we are, I think the point you made earlier of having to employ a compliance officer is pretty important. We have a human resource manager that looks after compliance and quality, but she does probably 55 other things apart from compliance and quality. So those are some of the challenges we face, having to basically look at the raft of measures that are required for us to finish a job, and also simultaneously support someone with a disability. Those 2 challenges really are sometimes divergent, but they're important for our success.
Okay. You handled that very delicately, and far more delicately than I would have in your position, I'm sure. That may... let's talk a little bit more about the potential businesses on the coast, and without giving away strategic issues. Is it to continue the growth that you've been experiencing now?
Certainly. In our packaging business, we've invested recently a bit of money in some new equipment. We have 5 clean rooms which operate in our Tuggerah factory, and we have the capacity to provide more work for companies that produce food on the Central Coast. What we do is predominantly packaging of dry foods, not liquid. We haven't moved into liquid as yet, but we are looking at that. So having said that, because we have a pretty large factory at Tuggerah, we have the capacity. We built another reasonably sized facility at West Gosford last year, and that facility doesn't accommodate dry foods. It's predominantly electric components and cosmetics that we do there. But we have the capacity to provide work, to provide support to a number of businesses who otherwise would spend their time time doing basic monotonous work that we could do for them.
Okay. How do you have a business development manager, or do you?
We have a very.
Am I talking to the business?
You are
development
talking
manager?
to him. Plus, I'm fortunate to have a part-time business development executive who works just 2 days for us. He lives in Sydney, and he helps me, and we work together, and we visit businesses often. We do quotes, etc.
So if we're talking through Business Insider to the top 15-20% of businesses on the coast,
Yes.
if you were to present a pitch now,
Correct.
unprepared, and I apologise for
Sure.
that, but who would find what Fairhaven Services does as an appealing economic solution for?
It's not only economic, it also helps the community, because on the one hand there's an economic advantage for a number of Central Coast producers to use our services, predominantly packaging and laundry, of course. But the other thing is that they make a positive contribution to the community, because they are actually changing lives as a consequence of that. But getting back to the economic part of it, we provide a service in our packaging area that a number of other companies cannot match. Because on the one hand we employ people with a disability for whom we get a small government grant and for whom we provide the adequate training, we've got the capacity and the human labour to be able to provide the packaging services that people need. So there is a slight price differentiation factor that we can cater to. So if somebody is having their products packaged elsewhere, and we compete on a commercial basis with other companies without any other subsidies or benefits whatsoever. So the quality standards that we have are no different to any other company on the coast or elsewhere in Australia. It's just that we have the advantage of employing people with a disability who are so desperate to get employment that the government
and keen,
and the government gives us a small subsidy for doing that. So any job on the Central Coast that's too monotonous for a large producer to do, particularly in repackaging, in contract packaging, we are certainly able to do. When it comes to laundry services, we are dealing with a number of the top hotels and motels on the Central Coast and in the country, I'd say, and our quality standards are exceptionally high, and we have a very, very low ratio of people with a disability working in our laundry. So our quality assurance standards are exceptionally high, and consequently we can guarantee anybody on the coast that we can give them top value for laundry services.
I think we've just about used up your advertising time.
Thanks very much.
But no, there's more. Because I was keen, after 6 years, do you have, we call it a rant, 60 seconds where you get something off your chest?
Sure.
Tell me, what would you like to see changed if we had a magic wand?
If we had a magic wand, I'd like to see seed funding becoming far easier to obtain. When you go to the bank with a new business proposal, inevitably there's a raft of other issues you need to comply with. When you go to the bank for a bank overdraft, assuming you want to create a new business, it's unfortunate that you have got to go through a raft of issues. And for us, the issues can get a bit more difficult, because the fact that we employ someone with a disability means that it takes us slightly longer for us to achieve sustainability, because we've got to have all of the foundations laid to support someone with a disability adequately in that business. But if we had a magic wand, for us, getting finance to be easier would be certainly something we'd love to happen. And secondly, we'd love to see that people on the Central Coast would change their mindsets about someone with a disability who can be potentially employed, because people with a disability do make a positive contribution to the community.
And in some cases more keen to work than
indeed
what may be defined as able-bodied.
Indeed.
And it's probably an inappropriate phrase, but I've seen the smiles on your guys and girls' faces
Correct.
when they come out of work, and
Yes.
It's inspiring.
And practically every day getting to work, they're usually there 15 minutes before anybody else gets there.
It's a wonderful thing.
That's wonderful.
Jim, thanks for your time.
And thanks so much for your time, mate.
It's a pleasure.